Gonna be your number one. Hello, live community. Tell me, remember this one? I thought, what a perfect song for the topic we're dealing with today. So, if you know this song, please post in the chat. It's just a great way to ease into it. I was telling Megan that before I came on, one of the reasons I love doing this show is I get to be a pretend DJ and set the mood and bring in some of my favorite divas, musical divas. So this is a song from my childhood that I grew up listening to. So I'm going to see if anybody got this song. Not so far, but for those of you who don't know, it's Blondie. I thought, why not bring Blondie in for today's live? I'm actually hanging out and dancing with the famous award-winning realtor.
I am award-winning.
I know. Megann Willson from Home Life. I'm so excited to have you back. Thank you for jamming with me and indulging my pretend DJ side. You know,
My pleasure.
I'm a music aficionado. So this show allows me the opportunity to play some songs, as I said, some of my favorite musical divas, bring them in, set the mood, set the tone. And what a perfect song, I feel. I dug really far back in the crates today for this one. And I brought out Blondie, The Tide is High. And while I was actually pulling up that song, I discovered that this song, she's actually not the first version of this song. The Tide is High is actually by Lester Holt and the Paragons. So they're a reggae band from Jamaica, and they did the very first version of this song. Blondie, being the trailblazer that she is, was doing remixes before they were a thing, was the second version of this song. So anyway, it was great. I'm enjoying hearing the song again after so many years, and I thought it was so essential to bring this song out because the tide is high. Folks.
It's true. It's true. And the other thing is all those people from the same time as Blondie and Debbie Harry, the Police, and lots of other groups from then, they were all stealing Caribbean rock, right? They were all thieves of that music.
I'm not going to go there. That's a whole other topic for sure.
That is.
But definitely this particular song, talking about the tide is high, I thought it was interesting because I spoke to Megan. We spoke a year ago, Megan, a little over a year ago.
I know, it doesn't seem like it.
No, and we were talking about inflation, but we thought we had seen the last of it. But boy, I mean, a year can change things so much. Yeah. Since then, we've seen, we talked about inflation earlier this month. We've been talking about inflation actually all month, but just different aspects of it. But obviously, we've seen our grocery prices skyrocket, our oil prices skyrocket, interest rates on mortgages skyrocket. So I had to bring Megan back because I thought, I've been talking to clients in all stages of their lives. And I was saying to Megan, some of these clients are actually dealing with trying to figure out if when their mortgage renews, they're going to be able to afford the renewal. So as we have conversations, some of the things that they're deciding is to sell. They're not wanting to face the renewal. They might be a real estate investor, or they might be just a homeowner, and they're like, you know what, I just think I want to sell. I don't want to carry this mortgage that I have right now. So that's one scenario I'm seeing. The other scenario I'm seeing are also clients of mine who are getting close to retirement, and they're trying to figure out, should I downsize? Is it actually going to be worth it? Is it going to be more affordable if I downsize? Or should I stay in this home and continue to carry this mortgage? So these are conversations I'm having as well.
Right.
The other set of conversations I'm having, which is not unlike the conversation with the close to retirement clients, is the clients who have kids who are looking to get into the mortgage game, to get into the housing game, and they're trying to figure out if, last year they thought it was unaffordable, but with the 8, 10 times. I've lost track. Guys, Confidant community, do you know how many times we've increased interest rates? If you do, I've got a skill testing question. That's a skill testing. I got a prize for you if you get this answer right. So if you know how many times interest rates have risen from last year to this year, put it in the chat. And if you're right, we'll give you a prize. We won't even tell you what it is yet. We'll share it the next live. But all of these things to say, they can't afford, they're wondering if they can afford the mortgage payments, if they can afford the house. Because with the financing of the house, it becomes way more challenging to afford the house. They're wondering if they have to qualify with mom and dad. So we'll talk about that as well. So these are all the challenges. And again, some of these clients who have children who are trying to get into the real estate game are acquiring mortgages themselves. So I'd love to know the conversations and the advice Megann is giving all of these types of clients in all stages of life. So I'm so looking forward to this discussion, Megann, and I'm so glad to have you back. Man, what a difference a year makes.
A huge difference, And not the least of which is what the market looks like. So, we can talk about when we had our last conversation, I think, the real estate market was on fire.
Yes.
Everyone was coming in. There was this holding for offers, right? 25 offers on a house. And even I sold a house in May helped clients buy a house. And, we had multiple properties we looked at, and we had one where we had 20 competitors, when we had 30 competitors, when we had 18 competitors, and they finally bought a house. Wow. Which they're working on and doing a lot of fixing and a lot of repairing and a lot of whatever to get the house where they want it. So things have definitely changed dramatically, and what people can afford. I think a lot of the fundamentals probably haven't changed of, what I hope to see people do. One is the rule is real estate's not day trading, right? But for all those, but it is contextual, and all those people where you said this is their situation, anyone who doesn't know your situation intimately shouldn't be giving you advice. Uncle Harry, forget that guy, right? Your next door neighbor who sold back in June, man, they know nothing, right? And even some real estate agents.
You need to say that twice. Did you hear this, Confidant community? Anyone, because this goes for finance too. If anyone who doesn't know your situation intimately should not be giving you advice about what their neighbor did or uncle did or brother did.
I'll give you the best advice I've ever received, which I got from my late mother-in-law, who was a goddess in my country. She said, free advice is worth what you paid for it.
Ooh, I love that. That's juicy. That is juicy again.
So there you go.
Yes. Free ain't free when you're getting advice, right?
No. In fact, yesterday I read a Japanese proverb that said there is nothing so costly as that which we receive for free.
Wow. You're just dropping some gems today, Megann.
So there you go.
Some gems. So Confidant community, welcome to the live. As you know, this live is all about making financial conversations accessible. We've got Megann Willson, who's here. We've been talking about what's real estate look like amidst all of this inflation. The tide is high, folks. The tide is high. So let's delve into it. Let's start talking about the market, because the market looks different. So what does the market look like for buyers and sellers?
Okay, so first of all, the very first thing I say to people is stop with woulda, coulda, shoulda. Doesn't matter. And if it's back here, it's back here. We can't, same with you.
Right.
Wishing and hoping we had done something in the past is not relevant. What I can tell you about the market is that people are going to go, in 2023, prices are down on average in the GTA, not as drastically as you might think, about 5%. I think it's 4.8, 4.7, something like that.
Really? I would think it's more, because I heard
certain neighborhoods are down as much as 30%.
Oh, really?
Certain properties are down as much as 30%. But by and large, the average.
Okay. So there's devils in those details. The devil in those details. Because
statistics damn lies in statistics.
Yeah.
Now here's the interesting thing.
Right.
The prediction of how much they will go up next year is, guess what? About 5%. So let's say we've lost a couple of years during COVID. We've lost more than just real estate value and gained it back. I think a lot of things in our life during the last tumultuous period have gone a little topsy-turvy, and we've all learned a lot about ourselves. So I'm saying let's just pretend we've had a little reset and go forward from here.
You know what? I love that. So if you've bought real estate, confidant community, or you're holding real estate and you thought maybe you should have done something last year, or maybe you should have done something in 2021, the past is actually the past. We can't go back.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And it's kind of like driving, looking in the rearview mirror. You're going to get into an accident.
That's
so you
it.
just got to keep looking ahead. And in Megann's case, I love it when you say, it's time for a reset. It's financial reset. Yeah. What do you want to do now? Let's take action about the future you want to create right now.
That's right. And you can't have someone else take the wheel for you. So even though you may have your confidant or you may have me, that situational thing includes how you feel.
Agreed.
So yes, the data tells me a lot of things about what you should do. Textbooks tell me a lot about what you should do. But there's also what's in, if you are in your gut, just not confident with it yet, because confidence you can build. It's a skill.
Right.
Don't do it unless you're ready, but a lot like our parents would have said, having children is something. You and I had this discussion the other day.
Right. There's never
don't wait to be ready. You'll never be ready. And a lot of that is true, but that doesn't mean you can't control your entry into whatever that looks like for you.
Well, you say that, and I had this conversation, that conversation built on another conversation I had with somebody recently, which is, so confidant community, speaking of secrets, a little fun fact for you to know when it comes to having children. Did you know the majority of kids on this planet are unplanned? Drum roll, please. Who knew? And here we are.
Right.
So on that note, what is you're saying a few things. One, the rates for houses have gone down 5%. We can't go back. If you still own a home, you just got to
your value may have gone down. Right.
Yeah, your value have gone down. But let's talk about the details. What areas in particular have been affected more? Like you said, some areas have gone down 30%.
Condos are moving slowly, and I'm a little concerned. Okay, a lot of people got into condos as investments over the last couple of years. Those are people that I'm hearing a lot of calls from saying, maybe I should sell. It's time. Oh my God. Okay, so a couple of things. One, remember when your financial institution made you pass a stress test and you were like, why are they making me qualify above what the rate is?
Right.
This is why. So that's what stress tests are about. Right. And so that's kind of some strong medicine. If you've reached the point, you're stretched, you're really stretched, and maybe your situation has changed. And I don't know what's happened with your job, but you're paying more for groceries for sure.
Right.
You're paying more for your car if you drive one. If you're fortunate and you're like me, you have one that sits in the parking garage and you don't drive it.
Right.
And you're not using much expense and you're walking a lot and taking the TTC. Good for you. Do that. Food, gotta eat.
Yeah.
And the cost of that has gone up. And if your job situation has changed, because some people have lost their jobs, other stuff have happened, sometimes you have to. So whether it's good for you or not is irrelevant if it's a must do. So if it is a must do, you must do it. You just have to do it in the most efficient way possible.
So what I'm hearing from you is, okay, we're doing a financial reset, but you got to still trust your gut and look closely at your personal financial circumstances.
Right.
Whether or not it makes sense to sell in this market if you're taking this hit on your real estate, because you could be holding it, but can you afford to continue to hold on to it? That's definitely something where you need to take a deeper dive in your personal financial circumstances.
And I have the same issue that you probably run into with your clients, which is we'd like to talk to you about this most intimate thing we want to do and tell us what to do. And I say, open up your coat and show me everything that's underneath. And they go, no,
exactly.
I don't want to tell you anything. I can't help you. I can't give you my best help. I can help you in generalities, but if you want real in-depth help, then you better be prepared to have a real in-depth, intimate conversation.
Yeah,
and hard things.
It is, and it's often about what things people fear, which they have to truly feel safe with you And that's one of the reasons I call myself a confidant. They have to truly feel safe with you to talk about some of those hard things and tell you what scares them. Because very well, it could be, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my home. That could be what it is, right? So,
and my first question to someone who calls me, if they're someone I don't know already, and I don't get a ton of cold calls because I try to cultivate referrals from people I know and I trust. But when I have someone who calls me who says, maybe I should sell my investment condo, the first thing I say is, do you own another property? Because it's nice to know that.
Right.
I also say to them, what makes you think that? And then I say, have you talked to a mortgage agent? Not your banker, not the person who does mortgages in your bank, in your financial institution,
right,
but someone who is a broker, an unbiased mortgage agent,
right,
about your situation. Because I'd like you to talk to them before you give up hope, because real estate is always a hedge against inflation. A hedge is just what it sounds like. You build it around your house to protect yourself.
That's right.
It's not a moat.
That's
doesn't have alligators in it, but it does slow things down from getting at you.
Right.
Because that real estate will hold its value. Even though its value may have gone in a little dip this year,
right,
it's going to sail up
the long term.
Time.
Let's look at the long term.
Real estate is not day trading.
Right. It is. Again, similar to investments, folks. Community, it's not day trading.
Hang on. And so if you can hang on, that is the best thing you can do.
Even if you're in those, so assuming that financially you're in a good place, even if you're in those areas that are especially down, if you can hang on to help that real estate recover is what I'm hearing.
So, it might not be that you're not losing. It's that you are losing less than if you did something else with your money.
Especially at this point. Because there's a lot of cost to sell.
Pulling your money out will be inextricably difficult to get back in.
Yeah.
So I can tell a little cautionary tale for myself, right? I sold my large house on the Danforth during the 2008 to 2012 debacle. And I thought, that's fine. I'm kind of, I was considering a move to pre-retirement. I had an opportunity to go be a strategy director for a university and be a salary man again. Big mistake for me. I'm an independent person. But it was fine. I did that. I sold my big house. I bought another big house. I overlooked the ocean. I had all the things you dream about. Problem, missed the city desperately. Desperately. I went to a place I love on holiday. So when it came time to come back, real estate had stayed very flat where I was and had done what it does in Toronto, which is climbed up a big hill, with nary a stop. So when I came back, I got the tiny perfect palace, 600 square feet, for what I had sold a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom overlooking the ocean home for.
Yeah.
I mean, no mortgage, but
that's a good thing.
But this is the lesson in that. I had something I wanted more than the bathrooms and bedrooms that my neighbors, my ex-neighbors, had. I had friends and family and people and places and things I want to do. So what drives you? What drives you?
I'm so glad you bring that up, because it's not just about the numbers, right? And
no.
I heard this amazing saying the other day, which is one of the reasons I don't think, if you're in the service industry, technology will replace you. I really don't. Right. And it's really about, data is not the same thing as wisdom, right?
No.
And wisdom you can only get when you sit belly to belly to somebody and you share your experiences, you share your fears, your hopes, your dreams, and that conversation is the magic. So that's one of the reasons I talk about having financially accessible conversations, because it's all about that. So Confidant community, what we're saying is, if you're in a scenario right now where you're dealing with rising interest rates and you've got a property and you have debt and you're trying to figure it out, it's every circumstances is not cookie cutter. It's definitely worth having a conversation over. I think generally speaking, what I'm hearing from you, Megann, is if you can afford to hold on. It might be a hedge against inflation. So now let's dig into, with the time we have left, some of these circumstances that we're talking about.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we started talking about the first category of individuals, and those are people. I think actually we've covered this: the people who can't afford their mortgage payment. So we've talked about that one. I think the second category is the retiree, the retiree who's thinking, is it worth it to downsize? Are you somebody out there who's watching this, who's in this situation, who's thinking, is it going to be worth it for me to downsize? Is there any upside to downsizing in this market? Megan, what's your take on it?
Oh, okay. Lots of upsides to downsizing. So thing one is, where do you want to downsize? Are you staying in the GTA? Are you staying in Toronto? Are you moving to a small, like, where's your dream place you're planning to go? Because that is, besides how you feel, that's integral to your discussion. Where will you go?
Right.
It used to be that from a condo like mine, you could sell something like this and move to a townhouse or a house in Etobicoke or Mississauga. Now it's Kitchener or Kingston.
Yeah.
Okay, so your ring has gotten much larger. So are you willing to go that far to be mortgage free? Do you have a mortgage now? If you've got a house and you have no mortgage and haven't for some time, do what you like, as long as you're not counting on the equity of your home to fund your retirement. If you're going to sell big and buy small, put some of that money away. Talk to Jackie, your financial confidant, about where to put that money when you take it out of there. Can downsizing be worth it? Oh, heck yeah. I don't carry nearly the stuff on my back. If you called me at the last minute in that beautiful big house and said, hey, listen, I'm down the road and I just realized Google tells me I'm just down the road from you. I can come up the big hill to your house and see you. Isn't that great? I would burst a gasket, because my house would be in some sort of disarray and it wouldn't be clean enough and I wouldn't be happy. The Tiny Perfect Palace can be a complete shambles. I can have been on a business trip. I can have been out of town. Sunday night I was here. Suitcases were unpacked. Everything was all over the front hallway, going into the washing machine. Kitchen was unclean, whatever. And I can clean this place from top to bottom in 20 minutes.
Woo! I love that idea.
Required.
Maybe I need to downsize.
There's value in that.
There is.
If you're hanging on to your house, onto your real estate for stuff that you believe your children will want, they do not. And I will give you a simple test to prove this to you. Offer it to them now. Tell them they have until Monday to take it. Bring your U-Haul. It's ready to go, and watch the excuses begin.
No takers. Okay.
No takers.
I just actually last month we were talking about taking care of aging parents, and what ends up happening a lot of times in these scenarios, because things happen so suddenly because nobody prepares. And so these things are being sold at fire sale prices, donated. So the stuff you covet, your kids are like, okay, how quickly can I get rid of this? Who will take this for free? Even if they're antiques. I mean, I'm a huge estate sale fan, because you can find so many gems at estate sales because people don't value, the kids don't value this stuff.
That's right.
Here.
That's right.
So consider, at the end of the day, downsizing, I can see what you mean. It could mean that you're helping your children. God forbid, if you ever needed care, if they ever needed to, downsize you because you didn't organize this, it means an easier journey for them. And I'm just seeing this just because I'm dealing with so many clients dealing with aging parents.
And so you may want to shift your money. You may want to shift your money into some place where it's an investment for care. Mm-hmm. You may want to change your house or your living situation so that you don't have stairs or whatever those things are. Or maybe you just have enough money put away in that special account that you can put one of those stair chair things in.
I know, the airport stair lift.
And that's fine too. Or an elevator. Go wild. Like if you've got room for it, no problem. Go ahead, do that. But think about it. Be very intentional about it. Very intentional about it.
Kind of going back to what you were saying before, Megann, which is, it's not a cookie cutter situation.
No.
You really have to think, what will downsizing not only give me the financial security I want, but I'll have friends nearby. I'll have a hospital nearby where I'll have people who, if God forbid something happens, can care for me. I'm just seeing this now where with aging parents, kids live in a whole other city, another sibling, and then trying to, so like be very intentional and think through scenarios of, what will my life be like if I move to Kingston? Like, who will I be around?
I just came home. My own mother and father, my dad had surgery, right? My mom doesn't drive anymore. Mm-hmm. So suddenly she doesn't have a driver. She doesn't have someone to run up and down stairs. She doesn't have a lot of stuff. I said to her, Mom, we should think about, if like it was a simple surgery, we weren't expecting anything to go wrong. What happens if something happens to Dad? I said, I guess, you're going to have to come with me or with Mel. And she says, I've already told you girls I'm not coming to live with you. So what is your alternative to that? Because you can't live on your own. I don't want that either. You better decide what that is. You decide. Don't let people decide for you. I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're 95. Don't let your children decide for you. Have some agency in your life, Mom and Dad, Grandma and Grandpa. Have some agency.
It is. But sometimes I've heard this from my clients as well. It's one thing to deal with a toddler. It's a whole other thing to deal with an elderly toddler. Good luck.
For sure. Well, okay. So I'll segue into your conversation about helping your kids to buy stuff.
That's the third.
Because I had some clients in the summer and Grandma said, I want to help you with a substantial amount of money towards your house, not $30,000 or $40,000, a lot of money. She didn't buy the house, but she helped those kids get well on their way. The mom even said to me, they're saying, no, Grandma, but what if you need the money? And Grandma was saying, trust me, I have taken care of things so that I have what I will need no matter what happens to me. But they didn't want to, it made them afraid and it made them worried to take Grandma's money. Here's the conversation I had with that young couple. I said, okay, so Grandma has offered you the money. She has assured you she has enough money. She's got a pretty large extended family. Are there any of you who wouldn't care for Grandma if something happened to her?
Beautiful question.
None. The second question was, do you want Grandma, okay, these people don't believe in heaven, but let's say they did. So do you want Grandma sitting in heaven watching you and little toddler? Someday down the road, your little teenager, maybe you can afford it by then in your house. Do you want Grandma watching that from heaven? Or do you want to take Grandma's money now and have Grandma over for dinner where she can enjoy the backyard and help in the garden and maybe choose a plant or two, give you some advice about what color she wants on the room she sleeps over in when she comes to visit?
Indeed.
Which would you prefer? You decide.
That's an easy choice.
If they're offering. Now, if they're asking, it's a whole different thing.
Let's talk about that.
My own kids, I can't give them substantial help on their home. I can't. I don't have the resources to do that. And that's just my own situation because of decisions I've made and choices and what I have. But, I think that's fine. Like they can't, I said to them, I won't mortgage my future. So I will help as well as I can, but I cannot mortgage my future because sooner or later one of us is going to pay for me to be in a care home or have a caregiver or do whatever. I want to take care of that myself. I can't expect that from you. And therefore I can't give you the money I've put aside to do that.
Right. That's a hard conversation. I sometimes have clients who are like asking the exact same question that you've answered for yourself, which is, can I afford to give my young child money for a down payment for a house? I still have a mortgage. Well, how is that going to impact my circumstances? So I think, again, everybody's circumstances are different. Do the math for yourself. If that's something that you want, to make sure you have the peace of mind associated with that, if and when you choose to give that money to help. Because I see millennials hurting. I have conversations. I have millennial employees who tell me they don't think they're going to be able to afford a home. But it's all about what's comfortable for you, what you need to fund your lifestyle, to determine how much you need, and to determine if there is any room in your finances to help. Now, for the people who can help, Megann, I'd love to walk through with you, because now if I'm talking to clients about, okay, They have the money. Their child is in a relationship with someone else. Are there safeguards they can do with their money? Because that's the last thing they want. Is these two happy people.
So there is family property, right? And so we can't help what family property does in Ontario, but definitely your child needs a will and a power of attorney to designate what they want to do. They need to have a conversation with their partner.
Prenup, maybe. If they're married, but I don't know how
prenups can be. But if they've been living together 2 years already, whether there was a prenup or, they might have kind of fallen into that, because just like the children by accident, the married common law by accident has happened to a lot of people too. So,
well, I was going to say, are there safeguards? Because I do hear of families doing putting like a lien against the property or things like that, so that if they give the money, they want to make sure it stays in the family. It doesn't end up being the couple's money in the starter marriage, for example, versus
and I believe in prenups and protecting yourself. I didn't always, and I think it's kind of creating, are you creating a situation where you're planning for divorce? It's hard for someone like me who's been married a very long time to think about that. But I do think it's good to protect yourself.
And look into the options. I mean, we're talking about options.
That's right.
That I'm not a lawyer by any means, but it would be.
And ask the lawyerly questions to the lawyers. Honestly, they are the ones for that. What I think about is when people are and you can be part of the investment if you want. But remember that that's putting financial liens and or encumbrances on yourself and your ability to borrow if you still have a mortgage.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to say is so we talked about if you are giving money, so this is just cash now, you're giving money to your child, probably a good idea for the couple involved, this happy young couple who are just starting out together, to have some kind of financial conversation about protection. And you talking to a lawyer about, how will this impact my family property I just want to give to my child if they don't make it, and look at safeguards.
And they can do lots of things, like talk to the lawyer about how can they leave you as a beneficiary of the amount of money that they've given you.
Or even just if they sell, you being able to, or the marriage doesn't work out. It's just looking at safeguards is important.
So there may be caveats around that for sure that you want to look into. Also, if mom and dad are giving you money, but you're not quite ready to buy yet, you're still saving, but they've said they've made a pledge to you. First home savings accounts. Now I'm getting into your territory, but I don't want to go too far. But I want to say if people are already putting money in their RSP anyway, hopefully they've got a plan and they've got various pots they're putting money into. I know that my daughter, who is, has worked with you, you have a plan and things are going to go here and things are going to go there. The thing about your FHSA is it has a lot of things like your TFSA. So one is, you've got this tax-free savings. You can pull the money out and put it into your house without tax-free.
That's right.
You don't get taxed when you do that. If you never buy a house and you never have what if I never have a relationship and I never buy a house? You can roll it into your RSP. It's okay. It's fine. And so if mom and dad are going to give you, your limit is $40,000, right? $8,000 a year. So whatever. But if mom and dad are going to give you money, put the first tranche of that money or all of it, if it fits in the whatever the borders are of that FSHA, put it in there first. If you're not going to buy immediately, that's the best place to put it. If you haven't started one of those, take mom and dad's money, put it in there.
Right.
That's what I tell people all the time, because they can build a firewall around it. But yes, look at where am I? How can I protect myself? For sure.
How can you protect it? Take advantage of these programs. Like if they're giving you cash and you're not ready, consider the FHSA, and also consider the TFSA. You have to just know what your limits are and discuss something like that with a financial professional.
And talk to your partner about what they want. Now we've got the money. We're ready to go. Yeah. Right. For heaven's sakes, have a good conversation about your expectations. I've had couples. I had one. He's very laid back minimalist. I think he watched the Minimalist documentary a lot of times. He's lived the minimalist. She is a maximalist of a high order.
Those are the funny conversations.
And in all things, and I can remember we were looking at one house and we're on the steps, and he said, "Do we really need a house this big?" And she said, "Well, we're going to have 4 or 6 kids." That is exactly the face he made.
Run.
That was the first he had heard of that plan.
Don't walk. Okay. I mean, for those of you who love children, I love kids too, and I love giving them back. I really do.
But you don't find out about it with your realtor on the front steps of a house.
No, before you're about to buy. Hey, you know what? Very important to have all of these kinds of conversations. A couple of quick things before we finish. I have one of the Confidant community members saying second round kids coming for more money because mortgage payments are changing. So the thing about that, so we talked about giving them money. What about if they want to be on the mortgage because now the kid can't qualify for a mortgage?
Are they coming back for money because their rate has gone up?
Well, they're not just rate has gone up. I'm just talking about, so they're coming for more money because their mortgage has come up. So Pat's brought up
for renewal.
Yeah,
and they're afraid they're going to lose. And now they've come hand in hand to get more money from mom and dad. What did they think has happened to mom and dad's mortgage?
Same thing. Well, assuming maybe they don't have a mortgage, but can they afford a second round of payment? That's the first thing. And then they might also need, like for those new buyers who maybe a year ago they were looking at home prices, they thought it was too high, and then they're coming back and now they can't qualify on their own. What are you having conversations with parents who are?
My first question to the kids is, do you think your parents have given you the smallest amount they could or the largest amount they could already, if they've already received? That's my first question. Because as a parent, we give as much as we can, right? We've already given as much as we can, a lot of us. What to do about that? Again, reevaluate, do the numbers yourself, look at that, look at whether there are better ways. Of course, what we didn't bring into any of this conversation around housing is other debt.
Yeah, that's the other thing. So
does your kid have other debt? Because if they have other debt they are carrying that is at a much higher rate than their mortgage, they've got to get rid of that before they can have more of my money.
Well, it sounds like they need to, before they come to mom and dad, Pat, they need to talk to a financial planner or a debt consolidator to get their finances sorted out, to even make sure that they're not going to have to come back to mom and dad again in the future, because the hole is not.
And they need to know those calculations themselves, right? They need to know how to calculate their ratios. You don't go into your mortgage agent or your banker and ask them, can I do this? Because there are two people you never ask, can I do this? Your mortgage person in a financial institution is there to sell you a mortgage. They will tell you, yes, you can. Unlike a lawyer who will tell you, no, you can't.
Right.
It's to figure out what you need and want to do and ask them, how can I do this? Is there a way? But, you start getting letters if you've already got a mortgage from your bank long before the hammer comes down on you. That is the time to start having conversations with alternative lenders and figure that out and talk to your financial person and understand the situation. So before you're under duress, start making action.
Again, get ahead of it.
Mom and dad, talk to mom and dad so that mom and dad can say, because you need time for them to also have those conversations and reevaluate before they can give you an answer. When that mortgage payment is due in 15 days, they can help you. They cannot help you. It's not possible. They should laugh just like that.
Yeah. But typically that's what happens, right? You might not be opening those statements, even right now with maybe they took a variable mortgage and they're getting trigger rate. And so they're like, mom and dad, they might wait till that last trigger point to say the bank's like, we're gonna like make some foreclosures on your mortgage. Mom and dad, we need money. And what I'm hearing is just like
and at that point you need to call me, stop taking advice from the neighbor, and let's get that thing sold as quickly as possible. And that might mean you're not going to get out of it what you hoped, and you're certainly not going to get out of it what you paid for it last summer. But hopefully at that point, if I was your agent, I was talking to you about having a cushion even greater than what the qualifying rate was that your lender was asking you to have, and making sure you had money in the bank in case. What's going to happen to rates? I get that question so quickly.
Yes. So that would probably be, I know we've covered a lot. So what will happen to rates? And then a quick, what's the final piece of advice you want to share with the Confidant community? There's so much going on right now. As we said, the tide is high, interest rates are high, inflation is high, tide is high. What are some final piece of advice?
The answer to what will happen to rates is, I wish I knew. I would be a very wealthy woman, in short. But we were saying early in the year, we thought by the end of the year, aka now, rates would begin to diminish again. There are a few pundits still saying sometime in 2024, and even I'm hopeful that we will see improvements in 2024. But realistically, you should be banking on rates not dropping until 2025 or even 2026. Budget according to that.
Yeah, better to plan for that worst case scenario rather than the best. What's the last piece of advice you want to leave people with, to give them a sense of, if I leave you with nothing else, I want to leave you with this? What would you want to tell the
If there was one thing that I could torch from the mindset of every home buyer in the world, be they a retiree, a young person, whoever it is, it would be this idea of a forever home. That the forever home has ruined more financial plans of smart people than anything else I can think of. It's okay to start with less than you want and less than you believe you need, and life can always change, and there's always opportunity around the corner.
I love that.
So
I love that, because that means you have the opportunity to financially reset, like you're talking about.
Always. You can always go forward, and real estate isn't day trading. It will go up. So maybe not on your timeline or the way you expected, but
yeah, which is why having these conversations with yourself, with your advisors, with your real estate agent is so important. But what I'm hearing is, just get ahead of these things. Start having these conversations. Millennials, don't stress your parents out if you have a home and you're recognizing that you can no longer afford it, versus can no longer afford it because you're financing it, or you can no longer afford getting into the market. Start having these conversations. Slow down that process so you learn as much as you can. You're armed with as much information to make informed decisions. I started the show talking about Debbie Harry, Blondie, which is her name, who the tide is high. Things come around again.
I'm holding on.
I know, keep holding on. Things come back around again. We were saying that Blondie wasn't the first person to sing this song. There's so many songs that have the remix. We're going to always have a financial remix where something happens and then it comes again. Everything comes in cycles. So hang on, figure out your why, figure out your finances. Thanks so much for tuning into the live, everybody today. Confidant community, always a pleasure. Megann, it was such a pleasure having you here.
So good.
If you enjoyed this live, sharing is caring. Please share this information. If you didn't get to hear it all, we got you. We're going to have a live summary we're going to share with you, Megann, and with the Confidant community. Please continue to follow us for the latest updates. We're going to continue this conversation. Last live next week on inflation. I'm going to be championing that live. Stay tuned, Confidant community. And thanks again for joining us today. Talk to you soon, everybody.
Bye.
Bye now.